Hello and welcome to this first episode of Fallen Enchantress Legendary Heroes played on Expert on the Wildlands map. Okay, let's go into our new game parameters. Yes, because I need to start my recording again. Okay, so this game is one of my favourites. It's a 4X game, it's a fantasy 4X game, sort of along the lines of Civilization, but obviously more sort of fantasy themed. I've played a few games. I haven't played through all of these sovereigns yet. It actually allows you to create your own sovereign, but for this game I'm going to use one of the ready-made ones, partly because I haven't played through them all. And since I haven't played through them all, I'd rather actually continue to work my way through them so that I actually learn their ins and outs, what they're good at and what they're not so good at. I certainly like how they have created all of these various empires or kingdoms, because there's quite a lot of variety in how they actually play out. For example, if we look at the Reslin here, you'll note they have no armour options, so they're allowed leather armour, which is the first armour you can get, but they're not allowed to use chain or plate. And to sort of compensate this, they have things like the ability to train various sort of spider monsters first up, and they don't cost anything. They can bind some of the monsters to do their bidding, and so on. And what this means is that you can actually create a powerful army when you've got limited resources early on in the game, but this power that you have, this power advantage you have early on, isn't maintained. So when the rest of the factions are getting into the chain mail and so on, you'll start falling behind in the power curve. So it's kind of a rush empire, best played by rushing your opponents down. Probably hard to do the Master Quest victory, but certainly a lot of fun to eliminate all of your enemies quickly. And certainly if you're facing them, you probably don't want to face them early on, but if they're around later on in the game, they're probably weak relative to the other factions that you're facing. Now, let's see. Lord Markin of the Gildan, these guys are more or less the exact opposite. They tend to get strong towards the end, they're master smiths, so metal and so on and armour costs less. Their weapons, special weapons that they get are sort of latter game weapons. They have light plate, which is just a variation on plate really, it doesn't mean that much. Golems, they sort of come mid to late game I guess, but they're mainly a defensive weapon rather than an aggressive one. So overall, given their advantages in cheap late game units, I would say that they sort of mature towards the end of the game. And I think I played them at one point. Carodus, however you pronounce some of these guys. I think I've played him before. Who else have I played? The Yithril. Yes, I played them before as well. I've got Juggernauts. These guys are kind of in between Gildan and Reslin. Juggernauts, once you get them, you're pretty much at a point where you could go straight for the Mastery Quest with them. In fact, that's actually how I played them. An army of Juggernauts was quite up to the task of a normal monster level finishing the Master Quest. So they're a lot of fun as well. But this time I want to play Caraxes. I haven't played them before. I like the mix of fire and water. We're going to go the mage route and see how that takes us. So let's get into it. As already said, we're going to play the Wildlands map. I'm not sure if some of these things like the wildland frequency, changing that actually makes much difference to the map, given it's one of the ones that came with the DLC. Production pace default, quest balanced. Well, difficulty, this adds 2 levels to the monsters. I've never increased the monster level before, but I want to do that because I've found things like the Master Quest to be just a little bit too easy to do too early, so maybe if all the monsters are a bit harder, it'll also affect things like that. Monster frequency, moderate, that's the standard amount, yeah. I have played with dense before, that just seems to slow down the other AI, so let's just leave it as moderate. Pacing normal. Magic I'm actually going to increase for this game, because I'd like there to be a lot of magic in it. The other resources moderate, event frequency default, number of opponents 6, I think that's like the default for this map. I'm going to give more kingdom, so we're empire. It doesn't mean that you're kind of allied with the other empires and that the kingdom are automatically against you, but it does mean that you get negative diplomacy. You get penalties for being on the other sort of side of the coin. So the empire people are probably more likely to form alliances. You're more likely to have difficulty with the kingdom, although you're against all of them. And when it comes down to it, we'll kill empire just as fast as we'll kill kingdom. Yes, and as I said at the beginning, we're going to play on expert. There are actually 2 more levels above expert. Pretty much says all that needs to be said about insane, I'm guessing. I've only actually played on hard before, so this will be interesting for me to see how expert goes. Normal, surrender threshold, and all of the quest victory conditions available. I'm not going to customise the opponents, whatever we get, lucky dip. And away we go.
Men of the West call you a traitor. They say you have betrayed the principles of mankind.
Oh, this is
nobility,
well and good.
honor, fairness.
If you want to
they look down upon
see exactly what it says, I guess you can pause the
and
video
say they will
or
never trust the
play the game
again.
yourself and listen to it. Either way,
they are
we're
fools.
not going to listen to it here. So, what have we got? We've got a 4-3-2-2-5-1. There's, if you're used to like a game like Civilization, you're probably used to food and production. In this sort of fantasy magical world, we've got one more thing, which is essence. Essence is pretty important. It gives you quite a lot of flexibility in terms of what you can do. What's that? An earth shard that's not that useful to us since we're fire and water. Wolf's army, medium, and a few things around. So we're going to settle in place, I guess. 4-3-2 is quite a powerful tile. That's worth a 9. If I was looking for something as an alternate, I mean, lots of production is good if you want to build up military fast, which we probably do, but the total value of that is like an 8. We've got 9 here. The essence is important. I'd probably rather have more grain right at the beginning. That would help us pump out pioneers faster. But yeah, this is a good balanced place to start our first city. So what we're going to do is we'll settle. There we go. We'll settle, and I'm actually going to call this first episode to a halt here, just to make sure that everything's recorded properly. And next episode we'll actually play the game. So see you there, folks.